Welcome back to Taiwan Outlook. Our discussion today is about Taiwan's relationship with the U.S. And our guest today is Dr. Gerrit van der Wees. He's the Senior Political Advisor to FAPA. Gerrit, we've been talking about Taiwan's concerns about the U.S. policy. And people have been talking about there's a possibility for the so-called fourth communique between China and Washington in managing cross-strait issues. Do you think that's a possibility?
It has been talked about. There are some people who are advocating it, but I don't see too much traction for this concept in Washington. Mm-hmm. People do feel that it would be more problems than it would be worth. And the general idea is that we should continue the general One China policy framework, mm-hmm. but a number of people that we have talked to are saying that we can, within that framework, increase breathing space for mm-hmm. Taiwan, increase relations with Taiwan in a positive fashion, increase Taiwan's international space. Mm-hmm. So they are willing to kind of push the boundaries, push the limits a little bit, but not really redirect the policy towards a new policy. That is, at least at the present time, not something that is being contemplated. We don't know, of course, what a new administration will do.
How about the Taiwan Relations Act? Do you think the law is still effective in meeting with the new challenges now we are having right now?
Well, the law has been to some extent effective because it stipulated two important things. One is that there should be a peaceful resolution to the problem in the Taiwan Strait between Taiwan and China. Mm-hmm. And secondly, it did emphasize the need to provide arms to Taiwan mm-hmm. To defend itself, and that Americans should have the capability to respond to contingencies in the Taiwan Strait mm-hmm. if China would attack. Mm-hmm. So those aspects have been quite positive. But at the same time, of course, the Taiwan Relations Act does stipulate that there are informal relations with Taiwan. Yeah. And this has been a constraining factor on relations between mm-hmm. Taiwan and the United States, mm-hmm. because at the present time you do have, as I emphasized earlier, a Taiwan which is a free and democratic nation with mm-hmm. a government representing the people on the island. Mm-hmm. In 1979 you didn't have that. You didn't have a government representing the people on the island, and as we all know, the government at that time was rather repressive. Yeah. So in those days this government that was rather repressive said we are the government of China, mm-hmm. and that claim was not recognized. Mm-hmm. Now we have a new situation, and we are urging the American government, mm-hmm. Congress, to gradually move towards a new policy which takes account of this mm-hmm. new reality on the ground, mm-hmm. that we have a new and democratic Taiwan.
That's right. And U.S. policy towards Taiwan sometimes is also a function of Taiwan's domestic politics. And apparently that in January we have a one-party dominance in the LY election, and we are going to a new leader in March presidential election. How do Americans see the possible leadership change in Taiwan?
They do look forward to a new government in Taiwan. As we discussed earlier, the relations did have a downward trend, and as I emphasized at that time, that was not only due to actions taken by Taiwan, but certainly also actions in the United States and priorities elsewhere in the United mm-hmm. States. So they do see it as an opportunity to move forward, to leave the past behind us, and to build a constructive relationship mm-hmm. with Taiwan. Whether this is a Ma government or whether mm-hmm. this is a Xi government, they do not take a position there. So that is seen by the Americans in general, mm-hmm. Congress and the administration, as an opportunity to move forward.
In terms of cross-strait relations, does the U.S. have some consensus of possible big shift on the part of Taiwan in its relations with China? And its impacts on the U.S.-Taiwan relations?
Big shift in which direction?
For instance, moving closer to China and try to reconcile with China and so on.
Yeah. That is indeed a concern that you do hear quite a bit in Washington, that if there would be a Ma administration and this Ma administration would move closer to China, that would be viewed with deep concern in Washington, because it would mean a diminishing of the democratic value of Taiwan, and it would mean the diminishing of the strategic value of Taiwan. And those are two very important pillars on which US policy towards Taiwan is based. So therefore, such a shift would not be welcomed in Washington.
And of course, in the US, it's also election year. And the Democratic camp is still running the primary, but still, some policy issue has already surfaced. Has China issue become a focus issue, and how about a Taiwan issue?
It is not a major issue in the campaign. It is a side issue. I think only McCain has mentioned at one point the China threat in his article in Foreign Affairs magazine. For the rest, I think only Clinton has talked about tainted goods from China. So it is not a major issue. It is Iraq, it's the American economy, it is immigration. Those are the three major issues in the American elections. But we have seen that foreign policy advisors of McCain as well as Obama have a very good understanding of Taiwan. We have just had the visit here to Taipei of Randy Schriver and Dan Blumenthal. Both of them are advisors in the McCain campaign. So if McCain would win and those people would rise to important influential positions in Washington, that would be quite beneficial to Taiwan. The same goes for Obama. I think Obama is a person who wants change in US policy. Change we can believe in is his theme. And one of the discussions we have had with the Obama campaign is that we should have change in the policy towards Taiwan in a positive direction, that continuing isolation of Taiwan is not good for Taiwan, it's not good for the United States, it's not good for democracy in Asia.
In the near future, maybe in 1 or 2 years' time, what will be your primary jobs or missions that you're hoping to do?
Well, when there is a new administration, try to get through to that new administration the importance of what I just mentioned, to rebuild in a constructive way the relations between Taiwan and the United States, that this is in the American interest, that Taiwan is not just a side issue they can ignore, that it is important for democracy in Asia, it's important for economic relations of the United States in Asia, and it's important for a balance between Taiwan and China. And this balance is what the US has always been interested in, and we should maintain a positive balance and not a negative balance.
What are the challenges you are facing now in getting the messages get across?
As I indicated earlier, the higher priorities that people in the administration and Congress give to issues like Iraq, that is really foremost in the mind of many, many people in Washington. But we do communicate, we do contact people in the Congress and the administration, trying to give them the essential pieces of where Taiwan is coming from and where Taiwan wants to go to. A lot of this information, where Taiwan is coming from, is not known in Washington. 228 is an issue that hardly anybody in Washington knows about.
That's right.
And therefore, last year, we worked with the Brookings Institution and we put up a symposium about 228 in Washington, D.C. Randy Schriver came and spoke there, and he said, well, this is really an important issue that more people in Washington should know about. If Condi Rice, if President Bush would know about it, his reaction to Taiwan would be quite different. So that kind of background information is what we try to emphasize in our contacts with people in the administration and Congress. The Taiwanese identity, that people in Taiwan consider themselves now much more Taiwanese, that the Chinese identity is decreasing. Those are factors that do work into the equation, and we do try to emphasize those angles.
Mm-hmm. Finally, you're coming back this time to observe the election, and you've been to several important events. And how do you see Taiwan's democracy so far?
Well, it is a vibrant democracy. There's a lot of attention for democracy, and that is very good. But it's also a fragile democracy because it's such a young democracy. Mm-hmm. And over the past years, we have seen a legislative yuan which basically had a scorched earth policy, mm-hmm. which tried to obstruct and object to anything the Chen administration tried to do. And the concept of a loyal opposition is very important, and to get that into the minds of the people here mm-hmm. would also be a major achievement. And we hope that that process will continue and eventually lead to a mature democracy in which people can gentlemanly talk to each other in the legislative yuan and not shout at each other. That's, I think, an important aspect of democracy, mm-hmm. where you can have a gentlemanly debate, you can disagree with each other, you can criticize the other person, but have fair and objective discussions. That is so very important in a democratic system.
Thank you very much. And thank you for watching Taiwan Outlook, and see you next week.